Hi everybody. It's Friday today. I don't know when I'm going to actually get this out and rolling to everybody, but I wanted to just take a moment to talk about the good things that are happening in our local community in Arizona, and most of all, bring to light something that's really near and dear to my heart and to the dairy farmers of Arizona, which is food and nutrition for our kids in the schools and across campuses, and obviously with all the schools being closed. We're seeing a lot of publicity and media about it. However, I wanted to talk to one of the people that I know is an expert in this field, been doing it for 12 and a half years with the Arizona Dairy Council. She works really hard for the kids and for this state and for the community to get food in the right hands of those kids who maybe families can't afford it, they don't have access to it, or whatever that food insecurity need is. And so today I want to introduce you to Pat Johnson. She's a registered dietitian with a master's. She's the VP of Nutrition Services for the Arizona Dairy Council. And it's been my pleasure to know Pat and to be around her because she is so talented and so hardworking for these kids. So thank you, Pat, for being here.
No problem. Happy to be. Sure. Prior to it being closed, we're always here to help schools meet their needs as far as providing a healthy, nutritious meal to students, be it resources or equipment, things like that. And it's always been under the umbrella of Fuel Up to Play 60. So Fuel Up to Play 60, in a nutshell, is our nationwide program to get kids to be physically active 60 minutes every day and to consume more of what we call nutrient-rich foods. So my main focus has been to activate Fuel Up to Play 60 to get more schools involved and deeper engagement in that program. And again, with that is addressing school meals, breakfast as our number one goal, of course, lunch, after school programs, summer food programs, supper programs. So a lot of components to that, but that kept me pretty busy. And then a couple of weeks ago, the world kind of went a little crazy, and we had to reshift. And so the focus of the schools that have been shut down has been about trying to meet the needs of their community in a modified environment. So the kids aren't necessarily coming into the cafeteria like they normally would to get their school meal. They're doing all kinds of alternative methods of making sure kids get that meal. It could be like a drive-through in the parking lot at the school where the meals are packaged up for the breakfast and the lunch, and they're just grab and go and take that with them. So my job right now is to facilitate and help the schools as much as possible to not prepare the meals, but to make it as smooth of a process as possible. So that's providing equipment to them, be it insulated bags or even the grab and go bags or gloves or whatever they need to help facilitate that.
So is all the funding through this all through Fuel Up to Play 60, or are there other partners? And can you tell us what Fuel Up to Play 60 is?
Oh, sure. Well, Fuel Up to Play 60, it's a partnership between the National Dairy Council and the National Football League. So the Football League has their Play 60, their community-based program to get kids to be physically active 60 minutes every day. National Dairy Council has their initiative of the Fuel Up part, which is to get kids to consume more of what we call nutrient-rich foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low-fat and fat-free dairy. As far as funding, we have a small amount of funding for Fuel Up to Play 60 funds, but we are seeing people step up like crazy to offer grants and opportunities. The Arizona Cardinals, one of our partners, has just, what's the word I'm looking for, committed $1 million to the coronavirus relief fund. And within that are some components to help schools. And so I'm going to be tapping into that, hopefully. I'm going to make some calls to see if, we can use some of those funds to help pay for some equipment. We also have, we're feeding Feeding Hungry Children, I think that's one of the organizations. I don't have the exact name of there's a lot out there right now. Everybody's kind of coming together with grants and opportunities. So we all can kind of pool our sources to ensure that schools are getting the resources that they need to get the food out immediately to those kids.
So I know you and I had a conversation prior to this call where I was asking you, well, how many kids in Arizona and across the U.S. rely on the free or reduced breakfast and lunch program, and how many are being met with that today? And I know you can't tell me that number because you won't have that for 30 days. Because they're submitting those reimbursements as they put food out. Right. But if you could address how many normally and what those kids are now not in school, maybe can't make it to school to pick up something, So all in all, the amount of kids before this, and obviously the numbers
Mhm.
that you're hearing come out of different counties or districts now.
Well, before, our average daily participation for breakfast was about 300,000 kids, a little bit more than that. And just over 600,000 were participating in the National School Lunch Program. So we won't, like you said, we won't know the numbers of who's participating currently until those schools submit their claims for reimbursement to the Department of Education. But I can tell you from what I'm seeing, they're getting hit hard in a good way, that they're feeding those kids. They're out there every day, they're preparing those meals and getting it out there for them. So for those kids that aren't getting to the schools sites to get what they need, they're having to rely on what's at home, what mom and dad have in the refrigerator, or what else they can find, because restaurants are closed. So that's why
So,
it's so vitally important that the school lunch programs are there.
so in a normal environment, pre-coronavirus,
Mhm.
what was dairy farmers of the United States and dairy farmers of Arizona? How were they helping this school program, and then how are they helping it now today after the coronavirus?
Oh, before, under that umbrella, Fuel Up to Play 60, or there's another funding source that we call dairy optimization. And that's to get in really cool programs like with smoothie programs, yogurt parfaits, milk dispensers, everything old is new again, trying new ways of delivering milk to them. Hot chocolate programs. There's so many different programs that we've been looking at to increase access to those dairy products. So dairy farmers have helped fund some of those. Some of our partners have helped kind of step up and take over providing some of that as well. Now, in the last couple weeks, the way that dairy farmers are helping is helping to fund the bags to ensure that those meals are still getting out to the kids in the schools. And every meal is coming with that milk, or there could be cheese on the sandwiches and things like that. So dairy is still moving in those environments.
And you were explaining to me that a lot of these school districts are having curbside pickup, and you were
Uh-huh.
saying that breakfast and lunch are both combined in one bag for each child.
Yeah, they're trying to limit the contact, so they don't want them to have to come back multiple times throughout the day. And in fact, I was just hearing earlier this morning on another call that USDA is considering having it so that the families only have to pick up once a week. So they'll go get like a grocery bag full of food one day a week, and it'll sustain them, again, to limit the exposure of how many times they're going back and forth to the school. And that might actually impact more families in a positive way. They can just go once a week and then grab everything that they need.
Mm-hmm. So I was reading an article yesterday, and I don't know how much
Mm-hmm.
you can tap into this, but I was reading that the food bank donations are down by 40% during this time. And I know that's not necessarily your project, but I know you were
Right.
telling me that you've been getting phone calls for people needing help or needing resources to be
Yeah.
able to get that. So can you talk to us about a little bit what you're seeing the community needing and how to help?
Sure. Well, the call that we had received was from a program called CACFP. Those are the Child Adult Care Food Programs. So I'll talk in acronyms here. NSLP, the National School Lunch Program, that's what I mostly work with the Fuel to Play 60 program. They're not having any problems getting their fluid milk. But these other programs, the daycare centers, the senior centers, who normally would go to Costco or the grocery store to get their milk, are having difficulty finding it because of the run on the supermarkets. And so they had requested some help with that. I reached out to Department of Education. We got a waiver so that schools can use powdered milk, or schools, so these centers can use powdered milk as part of their reimbursable meal, which they normally wouldn't have. The regulations are fluid milk have to be part of that meal. So we're helping to move that powdered milk that's at our Milk and More store right now into those senior centers and childcare centers that are having problems finding fluid milk. But I'm hoping that all stabilizes soon and they'll get back to having plenty of the fluid milk. But in the meantime, it's a fabulous stopgap to have this powdered milk. And I do know that the food banks are very, very interested in getting some powdered milk as well, because they're not getting the milk into the food banks. I think, I don't work with the food banks. I know Terry does in our office. They have indicated they could use a whole truckload full of the powdered milk. Unfortunately, they just can't afford to purchase a truckload of powdered milk. So there we go.
Wow. So if I am in the community and, my children, we don't have access to food, or we have food insecurity in our home, where can we go for resources? What can we do during this time to help bridge that gap?
As far as getting them the resources or the food that they need, I would
Yeah.
highly recommend directing them to our website, dairycouncilofarizona.org. Excuse me, allergies. Go to dairycouncilofarizona.org. On our website, we have a page dedicated to the school closures and the coronavirus, and information about Department of Ed. You just click on it, it'll tell you where all of the school feeding sites are, so any family can go there and get a meal. So we just tapped into that Department of Education, which is being updated continuously.
Okay, and as far as any elderly or any food banks or anywhere, what can we do to help them if we're not in that situation but want to do more to help people who need the food?
With the food banks, I'm going to have to defer to Terry. I don't know an awful lot about what's happening in this unique environment right now over the last couple of weeks. Yeah. So I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know exactly what's happening.
Okay, and about any elderly programs or things like that, like you said with this program that you had contact you about the powdered milk, is there any other programs out there for people who aren't children but who also have food insecurity that are older? Is that going to be the same Dairy Council of Arizona website?
Yes. Yeah. Our Dairy Council website is for anybody from 0 to 100. There's all kinds of information, not only about where to find product, where to find a free meal from the school lunch program, but there's also information about recipes. It's using dairy products. So, this is a perfect opportunity, people at home with their kids, to utilize the milk, the cheese, the yogurt, try some new things there too.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to, like I said earlier, to know you for 12 and a half years, probably longer than that.
Yeah.
But it's been great to work with you as a dairy farm family here in Arizona.
Oh.
Like, we can't get off the dairy and do everything, and we really rely a lot on Arizona milk producers and Arizona Dairy Council or Dairy Council of Arizona for you guys to do the legwork and the front work of all these programs that we try to help fund through producing milk. From our lady friends on the dairy. So
yeah.
I just want people to know that while dairy farmers can't be the forefront of the picture, that's you guys. And you guys are the ones that are making all this happen for us, and we really appreciate all of that in the community. And nationally, you were telling us that the kids that participate in the free and reduced lunch across the U.S. is how many?
Ooh, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I will have to look that up for you.
Yeah, no, I was just curious about percentages or numbers. But here in Arizona, you mentioned the number.
Well, for school lunch, it's about 600,000 is the average daily participation.
So I know you and I have also had a discussion prior to coronavirus about breakfast in the classroom and some of these different programs or these carts. I know Pepsi was involved in helping us get some carts into high school and things like that. We're all going to get back to normal. I'm hopeful we will in the next couple of months. And I just want people to know what do we have for resources in a normal environment for schools. Right now, you're providing insulated bags for the lunches, for the milk, for the yogurt, for everything to make it from here to there fine and keep it safe and have a good stable shelf life. What do we do normally? What do you have normally as far as, explain what breakfast in the classroom is or what the carts are for?
Okay.
And that type of thing.
So breakfast in the classroom is our gold standard. That's what we want to see in as many schools as possible, because it allows the schools to deliver a full reimbursable meal, which includes milk. Every breakfast has a milk with it, to the classroom. So however many kids are in the classroom, that's how many meals they deliver to the classroom. All you can do is, take it to them. You can't force them to eat it, but it allows accessibility to a breakfast program to 100% of the kids. That is our gold standard, which is why, we provide breakfast bags. We provide those resources to them. For various reasons, not all schools will do breakfast in the classroom. And so we try to get them to take those baby steps away from the traditional just having breakfast in the cafeteria, which is great, but it doesn't necessarily tap into the entire population at the school. So you might have, 700 kids on a high school campus or 1,000, we have big campuses here. And high school kids or even junior high kids, they're going to be congregating out in the quad area in the morning. They don't want to take the time to walk over to the cafeteria to have breakfast. So we've also have that little stopgap in between where you can do a grab and go breakfast, and that's off of the breakfast carts. Think of when you go to the mall and those little kiosks that you see in the mall. It kind of looks like those kiosks, and the full reimbursable meal is offered to them there. So you have it in the cafeteria, plus you also can take the meal to where those kids are congregating in the morning. The beautiful thing is with the PepsiCo, I'm glad you brought that up. We have received, oh my goodness, 6 breakfast carts in Arizona alone, 3 in Nevada. Those breakfast carts and all of the stuff that comes with them, they provide insulated bags, point of service, they're worth $10,000 a piece. And so this isn't something, dairy farmers didn't have to pay for this at all, but it has our logo emblazoned all over it, and it helps us meet our goals of increasing breakfast participation in those schools. So it's a great partnership.
Yeah, and that's a partnership with PepsiCo and the NFL and dairy farmers all going in together to make this happen, right?
This one's strictly PepsiCo. This one's okay. PepsiCo, but they allow us to use our Fuel to Play 60 logo, which has that Nevada, NFL,
Arizona, the logo. Yeah. So that was my understanding from what I've heard you guys talk about. Pepsi's a huge supporter with the NFL and the Fuel to Play 60 and with all of that. So this is just an extra mile that they went for us.
Right. And then also the NFL is a fabulous supporter too. In addition to our contract and the partnership we have with Fuel to Play 60, they have what they call a hometown grant. Every year, all 32 markets provide a $10,000 grant to a school for health and wellness. Over the last few years, the NFL has kind of shifted to work with their dairy council. And so I've worked with the Cardinals to select a school. We provide them a list of those that are really active and engaged in Fuel Up to Play 60 through becoming what we call touchdown schools, where they've completed all steps of activation. And then the Cardinals pick which school will be the recipient of this $10,000. And we've written it in such a way that they have to have a kind of a dairy component. What are you going to do to address dairy in this $10,000? We didn't pay for a penny of that. That $10,000 is strictly from the NFL, but because of our partnership, we get to kind of weave the message of how it's going to be utilized in that school. And so, gosh, this one too, it's probably been about 5 or 6 years that we've had that. So that's a long time of a lot of the NFL money going into our initiatives and our programs.
Great. Well, what else do you want the community to know about what you guys are doing?
I can tell you, no, you just kind of hit the iceberg, tip of the iceberg.
Tell us. You have all the time in the world to tell me everything you want the community to know that Arizona Dairy Council, Arizona Milk Producers, the Dairy Farmers of Arizona, and even on a national level, because every region has their own crew, a special crew that does the hard work. What else are you guys working on? What else are you guys doing to help our community?
Well, I'm sure I'm going to hang up with you after this and go, I forgot to tell her this, and this. But I can tell you that there's not, every day is different because there's so many things that we're juggling. There's so many different programs, organizations that we partner with to try to move our agenda forward. One thing that we're kind of working on as much as we can through conference calls and video is the summer food service program. So that's kind of the stopgap. So you think of those kids that get their nutrition during the school lunch program at the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Well, what about those 3 months when they're out of school? Where are they getting that healthy nutrition so that they can start back to school on a positive note? So that's where the summer food program comes in. So we're very involved with that. We provide grant funds to schools to use for marketing and outreach of their summer food program. And they also have to, in their grant application, have some kind of a dairy component. What are you going to do to address dairy? A lot of them will do smoothies, yogurt parfaits, different things like that, or cooking classes and demos for their kids. So we look at the different national programs, national school lunch programs, summer feeding programs, snack program, supper programs. They're taking off in Arizona. Supper programs are something that you'll see at a school site. So they're providing meals, breakfast, lunch, after school, snacks, dinner, all that whole community is being serviced by a school program. So as much as we can help them, not necessarily always giving funds, but even giving resources or information just to help those schools, take it to that next level, connecting the dots, having them, A school might say, I've heard about or summer food programs. I've never tried it before. So we can connect them with other successful program advisors to kind of take it to the next level. So sometimes we're the conduit to start that conversation for people. And the beauty of working with Dairy Council is we have a reputation in the community, especially in the school and the healthcare community. They come to us for help, for answers. It's not always coming to us asking for money. It's asking for advice. It's asking for direction on how to, navigate certain things. So we're here to help as much as we can, especially right now. So it's very crazy out there.
Yeah, it's been heavy on my heart to think about these kids
Yeah.
that don't have access to their food security, which is because they go to school
Yeah.
and they can get that, and they're at home without any
Yeah.
food. Or
Yeah.
even the last 2 weeks, I spent a lot more time at home because my kids are on the
Yeah.
digital online learning platform. And I can tell you, I'm not a teacher as a profession for a reason. And, and God bless all our teachers, all
Yes.
our food service people that are helping these kids.
Yeah.
And I worry at a different level too of like, how many kids go to school to get a break, and now that they don't have that opportunity. So I know we need to keep everybody healthy. I think as dairy farmers, we understand the cross-contamination and the reason for self-isolation, especially, especially on the dairy when we have a sick animal, or when we're trying to, allow baby calves to have their immune system grown. We do separate them. We do keep them isolated for this exact reason.
Yes.
And I think globally that's been an awareness that we're all going to have. I think hand sanitizer has taken off, and I think a lot of people have wondered, well, where's everyone been before? Are we not washing our hands? And
I know, really.
But I mean, it's taken on a whole new different level of biosecurity for dairy farmers. It always has been implemented, and I just don't think the correlation has been met. But this is why we've had it. Your food production needs to be safe. It needs to be trusted, and it's the reason why we've been taking such great care of these animals for so long, because they're in the food production industry.
Right.
And it's been a very, very tough transition for myself, going to the dairy and trying to isolate and stay isolated from the workers, because the team of workers that we have, they're just amazing.
Yeah.
But they're having to juggle the same things we are with their kids at home, and they're in rural areas. And we're trying to do the best to support everybody from a distance and keep everybody healthy and safe.
Yeah.
And that's why technology is a beautiful thing. It's forced us also to all jump in and do this.
Yeah.
So I don't think you've done one of these before, Pat. So,
No.
I'm glad to take that away from you.
Thanks.
Check it off your list.
I just wish I had the cool backdrop like you. I'm seriously lacking.
Yes, it's a virtual background. My kids taught me how to do it yesterday because I've been Zooming for 2 weeks with their classrooms, and
I'm gonna work on that. Get a cool little Feel It to Play 60 thing going back there. Yeah, I like it.
So thank you so much, Pat. I just wanted to let people know, what is out there during this time. And I can't thank you, whether it's
a lot
crisis mode or whether it's in a normal environment. You guys are the rocks of keeping our kids fed and helping them get nutritious food. So thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to do it.
I know I can speak for all the dairy farmers that I know in the state, which is pretty much all of them, when I say thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you very much.